The PACV, Patrol Air Cushion Vehicle, first came into service in 1966, with 6 being built by Bell Aerosystems, who are perhaps best known for creating the Huey helicopters that have become synonymous with the conflict. The PACVs were based upon an SRN-5 hovercraft, produced by Saunders Roe, a British aero engineering company. 6 hovercraft were built between 1965 and 1966. The Navy's were called PACVs, and the Army's versions were known as ACVs, Air Cushion Vehicles. Each craft cost $1 million to build and had a crew of 4. The Navy's design was closely based upon the civilian SRN-5s and the Army's upon the SK-5 model. Crews were trained on the craft in Coronado, California, with the first hovercraft making its way to Vietnam in 1966, with the US Navy PACV Division 107 Task Force 116 undertook patrolling missions in the Mekong Delta. A US Army Combat Development Command report from August 1968 details both armament of the craft and the tactical uses of PACVs and ACVs in theatre. Air Cushion Vehicle, a vehicle designed to skim the surface on a cushion of air created by a horizontally mounted fan which focuses air downwards and beneath the craft. Propulsion is achieved by rear-mounted propeller. Both the fan and propeller are powered by a single turbine engine. Air Cushion Combat Vehicle, an ACV configured as a tactical transport, command or combat service support vehicle dependent on the element to which assigned. An ACV configured to provide organic service fire support or element. It is organic to the light heavy assault platoons of the ACV troop. Its weapons configuration may include fixed mounts for 2 50 caliber machine guns, 20mm cannon or automatic grenade launchers on top of cabin, and 2 M5 40mm grenade armament systems mounted on forward firing platforms. In addition, universal weapon pylons may be mounted on each side of the cannon, attached to cabin or deck. These pylons will accommodate a variety of weapon systems dependent on the vehicle's mission requirements. The tactics being applied by the ACV unit follow those of standard cavalry organisations. Armour or armoured cavalry trained officers and enlisted men will feel completely at home in regard to operation of the vehicles and employment of the unit. An ACV unit of troop size can be employed on reconnaissance and surveillance missions and provide security for the unit to which assigned. The troop will also be capable of engaging in offensive, defensive and delaying actions of an enemy force unit. The document also listed the extensive range of operational roles the hovercraft could be used for, including long-range recon patrolling, insertion, night surveillance, and troop lifts, with each craft being able to carry 12 troops into and out of a combat zone.
An even more unusual vessel was described by Ike Pappas.
This is the start of Operation P.A.C.V, and a very well-named operation it is, because in Vietnamese, P.A.C.V means monster. These monsters are more commonly known as hovercraft, the strange land and sea vehicle that rides on its own cushion of air. This operation is actually an experiment for the hovercraft. Before this, they were used mainly for river patrol. Now they are being thrown into direct combat with the Viet Cong to see how they will fare. The VC often ride in camouflage sampans under trees and in patches of brush. Helicopters spot the sampans from the air and then drop a smoke grenade to mark the spot. The hovercraft then move in, guns firing. Besides a score of Viet Cong dead, the hovercraft also claimed a handful of communist prisoners in the fight. Some of them had to be pulled from the water. They were discovered hiding beneath the surface, breathing through bamboo reeds jutting from the water. The hovercraft seemed to be proving their worth in the tough Delta War. Traveling at speeds up to 60 miles an hour, they can cover territory in a single day that often took weeks to clear. These hovercraft sailors like to say that they hit all the Viet Cong that they aim at. And those they add with a smile that get away are probably frightened to death. Ike Pappas, CBS News, in the Delta near Mak Wa.
The Navy PACVs served in theatre until 1967, when they were withdrawn from service, but the Army continued to use ACVs until 1970. The 3 Army ACVs, served with the 39th Cavalry Platoon in the Mekong Delta just after the Tet Offensive in 1968. The first mission utilising the hovercraft took place on June 7, 1968, which saw the ACVs operate a 5-hour search and clear operation, extracting 30 troops, along with conducting surveillance and searching Vietnamese boats and other watercraft. During the ACV's time with the 39th, the hovercraft proved invaluable as part of a combined arms operation, acting alongside air-mobile cavalry, the craft being able to stay close to the infantry, supporting them along the shoreline and even inland, being able to give supporting fire on the ground, much like the helicopter gunships above. One downside to operating a hovercraft in the Delta was the time given to maintaining the 7-ton craft. Just 1 hour of operational use could lead to up to 20 hours of maintenance. Another drawback was the amount of training needed to be given to pilots, with up to 75 to 100 hours flight experience needed before the pilot could even be deployed into a combat zone. Troops also needed special training to operate on the craft. Although accidents were rare, one soldier died after falling into a hovercraft's intake during a raiding mission in November 1968. The large and intimidating hovercraft soon became a prize target for the Viet Cong. 2 Army ACVs were knocked out by Vietnamese mines in August 1970. The 39th Cavalry Platoon completed their combat operations on August 31, 1970. The 39th Cavalry were decorated twice, being awarded the Republic of Vietnam Civic Actions Honour Medals for their actions in the Delta. A 1993 article documenting the 39th usage of ACVs in Vietnam, written by Captain Kevin Cavini, summed up the ACV's reputation during its time in Vietnam. In the end, the 39th, by virtue of its equipment, became one of the most unique cavalry units ever fielded in the United States Army, and by the deeds of its men, built a positive reputation among the soldiers who served beside them in the Delta of South Vietnam. After the craft were withdrawn from active service in 1970, the remaining PACVs were trialled and then adopted by the US Coast Guard, being used for search and rescue until the mid-70s. One surviving ACV is now on display at the Army Transportation Museum in Virginia, and the Navy PACV can be seen at the Yanks Air Museum in California. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you again soon.